في أكبر الكتب.
Hi, I'm Matt Blanchette, AndersonVision. I'm here today with the director of the really charming new true to life, based on a true story, dramatic comedy, American Dreamer, Paul Dektor. Paul, this is I believe, your film debut, your feature debut, I should say. You've been directing commercials for quite some time. But what made you want this to be your feature debut? Actually, first off, explain the plot a little bit, for those who may not know about, its true to life basis.
Yeah, well, first, nice to meet you, Matt. We heard this podcast first on This American Life. And it's the stories about an adjunct professor who wants to buy a house in a really nice neighborhood, expensive house, can't afford it, but sees an ad in the paper that says you can buy this house for way less if the elderly person that owns it can live there until she dies. And that's kind of the setup of the story. When I heard that podcast, me and my partner, David Ginsburg, it just intrigued us. We felt like it was an interesting, concept for a movie. And given what's going on in the world with the housing market and, we thought it was really timely.
It really is. And what I really appreciated were, in particular, the little moments of like levity and all the distress, particularly the sort of moments where you're not quite sure if the main character is sort of hallucinating, if he's actually speaking with Shirley MacLaine or not. How did that wind up finding its way into the script as sort of a means of the protagonist to sort of express himself to himself?
The whole idea, it's like, what is the American dream? We kind of started with that. And then he's a dreamer. We made Phil, the main character, into this dreamer. And then we thought, okay, if he's a dreamer, what does that look like? And he's not the most likable guy all the time, to say the least.
I was very surprised. I was very surprised at the ease at which he was able to romance, I think, 3 women in a row over the course of the film. I think it was 3 women.
Yeah, I mean,
and Shirley MacLaine.
Shirley MacLaine. It kind of. I love slapstick, like old slapstick in movies, and I love that part of, what Ted had written into the script. It's funny, there's actually more of that didn't make it in. We had more and we kind of called it out. But this whole thing, like, stuff happens to him, like everything bad. It's like, we really wanted to make it like his life was not going well. He was, just everything from the parking space to, where he was at the university, every opportunity, something went wrong. But then it turned and things started to kind of like fall for him. And he fell into these like odd situations. And, Peter played that so well. I think he does in general.
How did you wind up getting him for that part? That's an incredible. The whole cast, it's just incredible. Just Shirley MacLaine, Peter Dinklage, Danny Glover, Danny Pudi, Matt Dillon. I mean, my gosh, how did you get them for this? In those parts for this particular project? That's just ridiculously great. It's a great story, I should say too. But my goodness, how did that wind up coming together like that?
So, Ted Melfi, who wrote it, it was written for Pete and Shirley, like not with them in the writing, but it was written with them in mind. Like, they were the characters that were going to play those roles. And, it's evident in the writing. So I think when both of them read it, it's like, Pete was like, I love this role, I want to play it. And Shirley said to us the first time we met her, I feel like you wrote this for me. And Ted was like, yeah, we actually did. It was like,
Yeah, the bit over the dinner conversation where she was asking, "Oh, if you have past lives and that sort of thing," I'm like, "Oh, of course, Shirley MacLaine, of course." It's
yeah,
just the way. Yeah, it does harken back a little bit to being there. Someone at the end of their life meeting someone basically who's sort of there to living up their last days. I'm glad, a little glad there wasn't like an I like to watch moment.
right.
But it was really beautiful. I wasn't expecting some of the twist. I was like, I'm not going to give anything away. The picture's not out yet, but I did really appreciate how surprising some of what Ted Melfi wrote was. How much of that was what he brought to it, and how much of that was what you, as your own, making your feature debut, brought to it?
You know, Ted, really, we shot the script. Um, like what you see was all on the page, other than there was one or two moments that I think that Peter and Shirley improv together. And, there was a moment on the beach when they're lying on the beach and she kind of takes her wig off. And that was actually Shirley's idea. She wanted to do that. She brought a lot to the table, kind of had a lot of ideas she wanted to kind of play with and brought a lot to the character. But really, everything you're seeing is written on the page.
How did you find, all of those? Obviously, Matt Dillon's character is a realtor. How did you wind up finding those beautiful houses in, I think it was Victoria?
Yeah, so we shot, we wanted a house. The house is a character in the film, obviously. It's a big part of it. And I wanted an old house. Like, I didn't want to get some new big mansion that felt like new money. I wanted it to resonate and feel like Astrid, like the character. So something turn of the century. But it's actually the house that he gets is many houses. I couldn't find one house. So what you're seeing is I found one house for the outside that sits on the lake. It's actually on the ocean. And then all the interiors is another house. And then the whole upstairs I built on stage. And all the windows I shot plates where you have to look out of the lake. And then that's all a set. So we kind of pieced it together to get the right feeling for it.
Was it difficult trying to keep everything in continuity? Like going through the the air conditioning, trying to go up to that, to I'm sure what must have been the set and everything like that. So just I'm sure you didn't have too much, a lot of time to shoot with everything. So I'm sure it just must have been. We'll figure this out now, so we don't have to worry about it in the edit.
Yeah, it was very hard to actually like keep track of everything with that because he also he hurts himself in the beginning, and that facial bruise and cut changes through the whole film. So you got to keep track of that as well. And he was shooting all out of sequence. So between all of that, it's very complicated.
Why the duct tape in particular?
Why? We thought it was funny. Like the duct tape. He didn't have anything, and he doesn't think clearly all the time, and he's not where he's bright. He's a professor, but he doesn't always do the right thing. So it was one of those character quirks.
I did like just how quirky he was. I mean, the specific way that he winds up using his overhead projector. And the last time we see him teach his class, he's very I kind of wish I had somebody teach me like that in university. Didn't happen. That didn't happen for me, but it would have been very memorable if it had been. So was it just, did Theodore and Melfi wind up needing to sort of get a bit of a background in, or read up a little bit about the economics that he was teaching in order to better portray it? And did Peter wind up having to read a little bit outside of the script?
Yeah, I mean, Ted did, and Pete pretty much stayed. I mean, Pete always will do his research, as I think all the actors do. But he stayed right on the page with it.
Did it wind up being a particularly quick shoot, or was it did it wind up, was it all mostly in prep, and then you just were able to just shoot it as quickly or as methodically as you needed to? for your first?
Since it was my first film, I don't have a context to put it in, but we shot for 30 days,
Oh, goodness.
which is not super quick. That's like, I think for this size film is a nice schedule.
And it's really beautifully just shot and edited and put together. The locations are gorgeous. The performances are absolutely just phenomenal. Since this is your first feature, what aspect of it are you proudest of, and what are you hoping, that people will see in it and go, that's a Paul Dektor picture. I want to see more from Paul Dektor.
I think what I was drawn to and what I hope people take away from this is, there's a lot of subtext in this that maybe you don't even get, and kind of little things. And, ultimately this film is about happiness and what makes you happy. You've got this backdrop of the house and what is the American dream, but he thinks he needs something. He thinks that big house, that parking space being is going to make him what he wants to be and the person that he feels he should be. And I think through meeting Astrid, what we wanted was he comes to realize maybe that's not it. And it's not the house. We actually had a whole speech at the end, which we cut out of the movie, which he talks about it. And it's,
I guess it works though. It works really well anyway, but no, go ahead. Keep going. I'm sorry. What you come to realize at the end is, it's not about me. It's less about ego. And he says, Astrid wouldn't want me to, and it's for the kids. And he's going to keep the house for that reason. He still is delusional and has his twins. So we didn't want a big Hollywood ending. We didn't want like his whole life to suddenly change. Ted was very specific in like he said, I want this to be like life. And people don't suddenly have these big changes like in most Hollywood movies. It's like little incremental changes. And that's what we wanted for him, where we see the hope of change. It's a great way to leave the film on. And it actually is sort of a literal, he has found his parking spot in a way.
That's right.
The house, he has parked himself there on the beach and is going to get help, but not yet.
Not yet. That's right. He says, maybe I'll see someone, but not. That's exactly right.
It's a really lovely ending to end the film on. I really don't want to spoil it too much for anyone who is going to see it, but it's a lovely, lovely feature. I really enjoyed it. And I hope other people who watch this picture enjoy it as much as I did. It was lovely. I really hope it gets a lot of views on, if not the festival circuit, then on demand, wherever this picture winds up being available. I'm sure it's going to be available, probably every platform that it'll be, streaming. Am I right?
Yeah, it'll be on every platform. It'll start with kind of paid, and then it'll end up on one of the services, but it'll be everywhere.
It's absolutely lovely. And I'm really looking forward to what have you got planned next, if anything?
I have a coming of age film I'm working on about a young girl coming of age set in kind of a small California beach town, which I'm hoping to get to towards the end of this year.
Does it have a title?
Not yet. As yet unnamed.
As yet. Well, I'll look forward to As Yet Unnamed. For the moment, American Dreamer is going to be out in video on demand March 8th, I believe.
Yes, March 8th, Friday.
March 8th, this Friday. Starring Peter Dinklage, Shirley MacLaine, Matt Dillon, Danny Pudi, and Danny Glover, among, an incredible cast, led by director Paul Dektor. I'm so sorry if I got that name wrong.
That is right. No, that's good.
All right. Written by Theodore Melfi, and an absolutely just fantastic film. And I really enjoy speaking with you today about it. I'm Matt Blanchette, and this has been AndersonVision. Thanks so much.
Great. Thank you, Matt. Appreciate you.
All right.